Welcome to Elevate Your Event, your favorite podcast for transforming fundraising events. Join us weekly for expert tips and creative ideas to make your next event a standout success.
As we bid farewell to 2024, this special New Year's episode is all about lessons from standout events and resolutions to improve fundraising strategies for 2025. Discover how the right tools and ideas can transform your results. Let's dive in.
Am I going? Is it me?
Yeah, dude, you're the guy.
Goodness.
You're the guy, doing the thing that dudes do. You're here.
Welcome back to the Elevate Your Event podcast, where we talk about all the various ways you can make your next fundraising event better. And it's been a great year.
It has been
This
a
is
great
our
year.
Is this our New Year's episode?
This is the New Year's episode,
Ooh.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to celebrate. I mean, it's not going to be with trivia because we tried that and the handbid
That
team
was terrible.
failed miserably.
Yeah, that if you haven't seen that episode, they should definitely go back and watch it because
we're going to do it again next year, and maybe we'll give out customer prizes.
I will say this, though. On that episode, your questions were kind of hard.
Hard?
They were like, what's the name of the department store? And I'm like, well, does anybody... The one
Where
that
Elf
surprised me, yes, Gimbals.
Come on.
I mean, I knew that, but I was thinking, that's kind of hard. The one that I felt like they should have known is the song that was sung at the end of the Elf movie.
Yes.
It's like Santa Claus is coming to town. Like, how do you not?
And the sleigh doesn't take off until
Yes.
Walter Hobbs actually starts
Yes,
singing.
I know.
I mean, come on. You got to pay attention to these movies.
You got to. But anyways, we digress.
It was quite a different Santa and sleigh than we watched Red 1 the other day. And
Oh my
man,
gosh.
that is a nuclear-powered sleigh.
That was.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Yes, that was
I actually
great.
didn't like Red One personally.
Oh, you didn't?
Really?
No, I thought it was like a little weird, and then I don't know. It's
Come
just-
on, they're running out of ideas on Christmas.
Yeah,
okay?
I know.
I
I
know,
thought it was
look,
pretty
And
entertaining.
a lot of our listeners, just to segue, right? I mean, probably are like, what, we're running out of ideas on like how to change up our event, right? I mean, so they're getting a little creative. They're
Yeah.
stretching the envelope a little bit. So
So today we got the start, stop, and keep. We're gonna each kind of go through our start,
our
stop, and
New
keep.
Year's resolutions, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, New Year's. But I was curious, what were your guys' favorite event of the year? Mine, I'll just start. So I went to a Young Life event this year.
Sweet.
And it was done inside of a airplane hangar at the
So
Centennial
cool.
Airport. And they had all these people who had like supercars bring them. So like they found a bunch of people with like McLarens and Lamborghinis and all this, and they lined them all up. So then they opened up the hangar, and then they had all these sweet cars you could like go and like look and do all that. And then their raffle giveaway was a helicopter ride around the city. And my wife and I won the raffle.
Oh my god.
Oh, that's why you liked the event.
Yeah.
Had nothing to do with
No,
the
but
fundraiser.
the food was good, and the food was good, and they had like a stand-up comedian, and it was just a
Was he
nice
funny?
event. He at first he bombed. Like, that's a tough crowd, especially
Young
it's
Life
like,
people are tough crowds, apparently.
Well, I'm thinking like an event where it's like people are kind of spread out at tables, and people are trying to talk and network, and then this guy is trying to get everybody's attention, and then you're trying to read the room of like, okay, what jokes are working? Like,
I think stand-up comedy is tough.
especially at an
Because a
event.
lot of stand-up comedians, I'm not going to say all, but a lot of them use the audience as part of their jokes.
Yes, yeah.
Right.
And so do you really want your donors and guests made fun of? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, my friends would probably think it's funny, like at our particular fundraiser, but I mean, everybody else?
Yeah. Well, and two, it's hard because it's not like you have this singular event, but typically everyone who's coming to that event is from all over the place, opposed to like if it's like a corporate event or a business event where it's like, oh, the guy's making fun of your boss or whatever. Everyone has the same.
Totally.
But it's too much of a diverse crowd to really like start to hone in, and I don't know. So it was a little rough, but he kind of recovered at the
good.
end, and
I'm glad it worked out.
So yeah.
I hope they raise a ton of money.
They
That's awesome.
raised a ton of money. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. So
Okay.
that was cool.
Awesome. How about you?
I think mine was One Goat. That was a super fun one. I haven't been with Handbid for super long, so I'm kind of new to the whole fundraising event. But it was just so fun to see, especially our first responders get honored in the way that that One Goat did. And also it was so fun to see Handbid out in the wild for the first time. So yeah, I really just enjoyed the speakers there, and the auction was super interactive. I think my favorite part of the auction was a father and son were really like they had a bidding war going against each other
nice.
during the live auction, and it made it super fun.
Yeah.
So
That's cool.
That's
yeah,
awesome. That was
it's
your
great.
virgin handbid event.
It was.
That's cool. Yeah, there
Very
was a bidding
cool.
war on this one item at the event I was at, and it was so cool. The guy who won it, right? It was like whatever it was. Like I can't remember. I want to say it was like 10 grand or something like that.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And then he just said, "Put it back in."
No
and so
way.
then he gave $10, and then they put the item back in, and then it went on a whole nother bidding war.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so that was pretty
That's
cool.
kind of fun.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
I love those.
Jeff, what was your favorite event?
Well, my own. But you want to know why it was my favorite event this year?
Yeah, tell us.
I
wasn't there.
actually sat at my table
Oh, that's
for the
awesome.
first time because we hired event planners, which, I would tell any person who's, growing with their fundraising and their events getting bigger, find somebody that can actually manage the logistics of the day of so that you can actually talk to donors and guests, right, and not be running around. And so it was nice. And so we hired Adrienne and her team to come in and run the event for us, and that was amazing. And look, there was some pushback from our board. But I had to remind them that most of the people pushing back are none of the ones that are actually doing any of the work. Right?
Yeah.
They're the board members showing up with
Yeah.
asking for their name badge at the front door so they can find their table while the rest of us are running around trying to make the event work. So anyway, it was awesome. And I would say well worth the investment. I got to spend more time with special guests and donors and whatnot.
Yeah.
At one point, though, it was pretty funny. I felt so comfortable with the whole thing that I gave away my radio.
Oh my
Okay?
gosh.
This is why Mark couldn't find me on stage. So I gave away my radio. The guy that I gave it to ends up, I don't know what happened to him. I think passed out somewhere, but he was gone. And he was one of our volunteers or whatever. And so I had to go chase down and find him and
Find
get my
him.
radio back
In
because
the
everyone's like,
alley
we cannot
behind
get a
the
hold of
building.
you. No one's answering your radio. We need answers to questions. So anyway, so that was
that's
maybe
awesome.
maybe I went a little too far with that.
That was
one,
a
but-
great event, though. That was a good event.
Yeah, for those that don't know, we do a Kentucky Derby fundraiser.
Yeah.
It's outdoors, which is in early May, always a gamble in
Yeah.
Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
It's paid off more than it's been a problem, but we have shoveled snow
Oh,
at the event before, so
That's crazy.
that can always happen. But the entertainment was great. I think the day was just absolutely
it was
gorgeous.
a beautiful day. It was perfect. The
Yeah.
MC was amazing.
The
you know.
MC,
He
we
could
had a new
just-
MC this
he's
year.
just, you know.
Was that you, Mark? I just have a sneaking suspicion.
It was Mark.
It was.
That's
and,
awesome.
And what was cool about it is that Mark knew how to improvise by singing to the crowd when they were looking for me.
That's
Yeah, I was
amazing.
like, "Where's Jeff?" I'll sing you a
Because-
Oh my
song.
God.
Well, I was up at the bidding window because nothing was wrong with handbid or anything else. It was the betting on the horse race
Yeah.
because there was a controversial finish.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And so what had happened was it was obvious who won, but what they printed on the TV versus what came off on the internet were different.
Oh, right,
Oh.
right.
And so we weren't sure what the actual results were, and we had to figure it out. So anyway, I was up there, helping them through that process, which I probably didn't need to be up there to do that, but I was.
Yeah,
Anyway, so that was my favorite event. I mean, we've had plenty of memorable ones, and, we'll probably have to do a podcast where we talk about all the fun things we saw, like the one event I went to where it was in the Bahamas, and they just turned the power off randomly at 4. The government decides that it's too hot.
What?
Well, 4
That's
o'clock is when
crazy.
this event was starting.
Oh,
Wow.
brutal.
So
It's like
anyway,
no
I
AC
was
for
down there
you.
with the auctioneer, and we were chatting, and they're like, "Oh, by the way, there's just a strong possibility between 4 and 6 the power is going to go out."
Like, the prime time of
We're
our
hearing
event.
about this now.
That is so
Yes.
stressful.
So anyway, those are the things that keep you young.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, keep you on your toes. Keep you moving forward.
That's right. Well, the power did go out, but it went out at 10 p.m.
Oh, okay, well that's good.
Yeah,
And it's like
it was
everyone
awesome.
go
We were all
home.
outside
Yeah.
in the trying to close the auction out and finish everything. It was pretty funny. Anyway, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the new year.
Yeah, that's right. The new year, new you.
Oh, I love the new year. It's just a fresh start.
Yeah, it's like endless possibilities. You
Yeah.
never know what's gonna, take place.
Significant change between December 31 and January 1st.
It's crazy.
A whole like 6 hours between when you go to bed and when you wake up or whatever.
It's like I feel like starting a diet on a Monday. You know, it's like it's always that day that it's like, yeah, it's gonna start fresh.
It's today.
Right.
Yeah. I actually kind of did away with New Year's resolutions.
Okay, yeah.
And instead I do a New Year bucket list. So I create like a bucket list for that year.
That's
like
cool.
it could be as simple as like taking a class in something, like a pottery class or like a knitting class, or it could be like travel to a different country or whatever my goals may be for that year.
That's so Gen Z of you. You know what my goal is to get more than 6 hours of sleep.
Hey, that's a good goal.
Yeah, I did I did away with the goals like a few years ago and started just doing a word like for the year. So
what was your word for this year?
My word this year is thrive in 2025.
I like
So
that. I
relationships,
like the
business, all that stuff.
We talk about it as a family right before the new year and try to figure out what's going to be our common family theme.
Yeah. Okay, the family.
We try to not be sarcastic about it either. So the Porter family can get really sarcastic. So we'll see. We'll see what they come up with this year.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right, so let's do an exercise here. What are we going to do? We're going to do most companies do this, right? And so this is something that we also just completed at Hambid when we did our year-end review and our kind of 2025 early planning, and it's the famous start, stop, keep.
That's right.
Exercise. So we each have one.
Yeah.
And this is related to fundraising and events. It's not related to our personal lives, although if you want to throw anything in there, Mark, you can.
It's like, I'm going to start clipping my toenails.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So what I have is, and I really didn't think about this as like pitching Hambid, but start embracing technology for engagement. It seems, and even that event I went to, their technology was terrible, and the experience was not that great. And then there was a lot of paper bids and like people trying to keep track and like whispering to each other on the side trying to figure things out. So I think embracing technology for engagement would be really beneficial if you're not already doing a really great technology. I think that could just benefit you greatly.
Okay, so let's talk about that one. Okay.
Yeah.
So 100% agree with that, and it's something that over the years we've tried to explain to people that user engagement drives bidding and participation. And when you try to take that away or you try to minimize that, you get less revenue out of it. And I don't think that's always intuitive to people. I mean, back in the day, I say back in the day, and you just went to one of these, but when you use paper bid sheets, there's not a lot of engagement. Right? I walk up to it, I bid, I walk away. And that's it. I'm unengaged. Right? Until I walk back.
Yeah.
Right.
And so there's that big gap in there. And it's so funny. Like one time I remember we were, I don't know exactly how, we were almost in like a bake-off with another mobile bidding company. And they were going to bring in staff and kind of do the whole thing. And we had agreed to bring in staff and kind of run the whole thing as well. And I remember the prospect was saying, well, we talked to the other company, and they said that they're going to implement their technology, but nobody's going to notice. And I said, oh, you're going to notice. And your guests are going to notice, and they're going to love it.
Yeah.
Right? How do you implement technology that nobody notices? Like, you're making them bid on their phone now or on a tablet. And, you want it to be easy, but there's no such thing as, to me, it's a no engagement feature, right? And we've had people that have said, we're not doing phones, we're telling them no phones, it's all on tablets, our bid helpers are going to run around and take their bids. And you don't get a lot of revenue out of that because you have to go chase people down or they have to come find you. They're all unengaged again. Right? And then your guests get annoyed because what are these people doing? They're running around the ballroom while people are sitting down eating, being like, Mr. Labriola, you've been outbid on this item. Would you like to bid again? And you're like, as you're like eating your, salad and stuff. It's no.
Well, I think there's good noticing and there's bad noticing, right? Like when you don't notice something, because it was such a great experience and so smooth, and
Yeah.
there wasn't.
Sure.
It's like
Seamless.
I didn't notice it, but I subconsciously noticed it.
Yep.
Because when you think back on that, then it's like, oh wow, that was really great.
Right.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the more accessible you're going to make the bidding or the fundraising or donating, it's going to be so much, you're going to raise so much more money.
Yep.
I think accessibility is everything, especially for people in my generation. Just as, donors get younger and younger, I think it's just going to be so important to ensure that we can just be accessible and have easy access to it all. So,
For sure.
yeah.
All right. Well, what's your start?
My start is utilizing mobile bidding software or fundraising softwares to their full potential.
Sounds like something that a salesperson at a mobile bidding company would say.
Well, that's my job.
Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I guess this is pretty much a plug for HandBid and just the success that I've seen it bring to the fundraising world while I've been here. I think it's amazing that one thing that sets HandBid apart is the coaching that we offer to our clients. And I think it's just such a beautiful thing when you're willing to walk alongside your clients and not just like point them in the direction to the right software, but guide them and take them on the journey through the software and through the features and everything that the software can do, because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, and map it back to their event, right? Like here's
100%.
how the software is going to empower certain outcomes that you want.
Yeah,
Right.
totally.
I 100% agree. And it's so funny because we just we have a commercial client, and they just ran an event recently, and they're migrating from paper. And it's funny because I mean they're on board. Obviously, they're we white labeled a solution for them, but just to hear them talk over the weekend about like some of the other guys, like they get it now. They're like, I mean, they're sitting there at this event and like they saw an old guy bidding on his phone, and they were like, there's no way old people are going to use their phones. And here's this old guy bidding on his phone. Isn't that amazing? 2024.
Seriously.
Awesome.
So anyway, it's 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Technology is the way to go.
Yeah. What's your start?
Oh, my start is kind of a segue from yours, which is start listening to your mobile bidding company when they give you advice they say is critical to listen to. It's I guess I'm continually surprised that there are organizations that we work with, and they come from sort of maybe a model of their event, and they want to try to maintain as much of that, but they also come from like a lot of them have like their own opinions on how certain things should work. And those worked well when they were doing paper or they had a different system, and they want to continue to employ that. And here we come along, and we're walking them through how our software works, and then we're butting heads with them over really things that shouldn't be all that important, but because they're trying to solve a problem that's solved in a different way. And so a lot of it typically has to do with check-in, with people who are like, I just want to take a paddle number and I want to put it on the table. And so everybody who is pre-registered for my event, and pre-registered only meaning I know who they are, but I don't have any details on them. I don't have their email, I don't have their phone, and I don't have their credit card. I just know that it's Mark Labriola II who's coming, and so it's like, okay, let me just give him paddle 112 and put it on his table. Well, Mark skips check-in, goes right to his table. We have no way of getting hold of Mark, right?
Yeah.
And then Mark holds up paddle 112 at the event, and all of a sudden we know Mark bid on this, but okay, what's his email address? What's his phone number? How do we reach him?
Yeah,
right.
That sounds like
And so there's just little things like that where they're like, we're just trying to speed up check-in. Okay, well, let me show you 5 other ways to speed up check-in.
Yeah.
But also get the critical information you need, because there's obviously the guest experience related to, I don't want my guests to wait in line, but there's a trade-off to that too, which is events are the entry point to a relationship with your donors. And when you don't know who they are, how are you going to have that relationship?
Yeah.
And so for many people, it's like you'll put up a form on your website and you'll ask them to give you their email and their phone to donate to you, but you won't do it at the event. And so a lot of those cases when we're having those conversations and there's any sort of disagreement, it's typically because, they're trying to solve a problem that HandBid or any other mobile bidding software is going to solve in a different way. And so my advice is start understanding why
Yeah.
I don't care if it's us or any of the other companies out there. When they say this is a best practice,
Yeah.
understand why.
And the amount of events that have taken place, thousands, that you've been able to be like, oh, this worked, this didn't work, and
I know.
and adjust.
And I hear that
yeah.
like, Jeff, I've been doing this event for 15 years. I'm great. So you have 15 events under your belt, right?
Yes, exactly.
We got 15 events under our belt halfway through January,
Yeah.
all right? So understand we've seen thousands, and we've changed our opinions over the years too, right? And not every process or every model works for every event either, and we understand that. So sometimes it's like, hey, the type of event you're running, here's some changes or modifications that could work for you. But our guests are different. Your guests are not different, right? Your guests are probably just like every other guest.
Yeah.
So that can't be the issue either. So anyway, start listening and understanding when your mobile bidding company is giving you advice, why they're giving you that advice.
All right.
All right.
Stop.
So
I am going to plea with everyone out there.
This isn't a simple ask. It's a plea.
Exactly. No, I've been to a few events this year where there was just too much content, too many different things going on to where it distracted from the event itself. They were trying to tell too many stories and have too many people come up on stage and share about certain things, and especially when you invite someone to an event and you just want it to kind of be entertaining and fun, and then let's move on to the bidding and doing all these other kind of things. It's like when all of a sudden now there's like a 30-45 minute sermon on stage about something, and you're just kind of like, oh man, like
Look at the time.
yeah, exactly. So I would say really think about the flow, streamline your event, and really think about that the people who are there, a lot of people who are there are probably invited by other people, and they don't really care about,
yeah, I get what you're saying. I mean, you got to stop assuming that everybody attending the event has the same level of interest and depth of knowledge or information about the charity that you do as the host.
Yeah.
So you kind of do have to summarize it a little bit.
Right. Summarize. I think that's the key.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. Give them like bite-sized chunks.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, the attention span of people these days is pretty bad.
Yes.
So,
especially those Gen Zers.
I know.
I can.
We have all. You're a Gen Xer, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm a millennial. And
Oh wow! So we have 3 generations.
yes, 3 generations.
That's amazing.
Okay.
Gen
Right.
Alpha, up next. Awesome. Well, my stop is, I think a lot of times in the fundraising world, I will notice people will only connect with their donors at the fundraising events, and I think that's something that these fundraisers need to stop doing. They need to get that email information. They need to get that phone number so they can stay in contact throughout the year. Put them on the mailing list, let them know what's going on in the organization, just to keep that familiarity going throughout the year. The less touches you are going to have with these people throughout the year, I think that's going to reduce your donations and just that relationship. So yeah, that's my
So to
stop.
summarize yours is the stop waiting another year before you reach back out to the people that attended your event.
Yes.
Okay, that's good.
Keep
That's good
pursuing
advice.
them. Yeah.
That's good advice. I love that one. All right, my stop. Stop thinking all auction software will produce the same results.
Oh.
It's
But Jeff, don't they all work the same?
yeah, they're all the same. They just have different price tags on them. Right? They're all cars, right? They all have 4 or 5 gears. They all drive you to where you want to go.
Exactly.
It's not true. So, it's tough, because, the different software packages out there really differentiate themselves on the service, like you were talking about, the amount of experience and coaching that they have. You want to be working with software products and companies out there that actually know what it's like to be you. And so think about that the next time you're looking at a mobile bidding solution and you're like, well, who wrote it? And then when you get on support and you're trying to get a question answered, like the person on the other end of that answering the question, do they even know what a silent auction is? Have they ever seen a check-in? Do they understand how checkout should work? I mean, you're trying to solve a problem. Most of the time, it's not simply like, how do I do this in the software? Because most of them have documentation that'll tell you that. It's more along the lines of, how do I best do this in the software? And so that's one thing. And then it's interesting that my sister went to an event recently, and she was telling me, and this is an event that used cheaper software than us, and they specifically picked them because it was cheaper.
Right.
And, we don't, I think we were very affordable software, but at the same time, I mean, there are software that's cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
But if you assume that Handbid and this other tool are going to produce the same results, why wouldn't you go?
Right.
But it didn't. I mean, she's like, I didn't even bid. I needed some code to get in, and I didn't understand that, and no one understood how it worked, and then it was confusing, and I didn't even know where the items were, and then they did a paddle raise, and I raised my paddle, and then I went up there, and they're like, we don't even know how to enter in paddle donations, and we're not, and I was like, she's like, I don't even think I ever got a receipt.
Wow.
I go, well, did you actually donate? She's like, I'm going to have to check. I don't know, because they didn't know how to put my credit card in either, and so anyway, it's just, was it worth it?
Right.
Was it worth the $500 you saved?
Right. No.
No
I
way.
tell you right now.
No way.
And how many bids and donations do you think they lost just due to the fact of the user experience wasn't there?
Right. And so, look, I understand that, various people struggle with various technologies, right? I mean, and so you're always going to have somebody
Right.
who's going to have some amount of struggle, but there are definitely big differences between these platforms out there that you have to understand. And when you decide I'm just going to go cheap, you might think you're saving $500, $600, but you might be costing yourself $5,000 or $6,000 or
Right.
more.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big, that's something that I don't think people think about
Right.
at all. We need to talk about that more.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, especially in the nonprofit world, every dollar counts.
Right,
So,
exactly. And so
yeah.
you think you're saving it on the front end, but you're really just losing it on the back end.
Yeah.
These technology platforms, we like to say, platforms like Handbid are profit centers. They're not cost centers.
Right.
Okay, and what that means is that there's an investment and there's a return on that investment, and you have to understand what that potential return is.
Mm-hmm.
We're not just the caterer, or the venue, or the valet, or the DJ.
Well, but catering
right?
is very similar too.
Well,
You go cheap on the catering.
That's
you go cheap on the
true.
catering, you could certainly make your guests sick. But
Yeah.
I know Michaela's mom's a caterer.
Yeah.
She would agree.
Yeah, my mom would definitely agree.
Right. She's like, this is my price, but I make good food, and your
Yeah.
guests aren't going to get sick over it.
Exactly.
Right?
Right.
They're not going to get angry over it. But outside of that, right? I mean, what you're not saying, hey, guess what? I'm going to pick this caterer over that one because this caterer is going to generate more revenue.
Right.
Right. I mean, maybe the alcohol might work, but I don't know. But the rest of it doesn't. So, but with mobile bidding, when you look at it, you say, yeah, it has to have certain features that are actually going to make my staff's life easier, and it's going to create a great guest experience. But you also need to be looking at it as, and I expect this kind of return.
Yeah.
Right? It's not just, when you look at these software applications and you only look at them from the back end, or does it automate or give me a feature or a process that my staff wants, versus what's going to generate more revenue for me, I think you're looking at it the wrong way. And we get these a lot. Like, oh, I really like this feature this other one has because my staff likes it. Well, that tool you're picking is going to generate less revenue for you than ours, because your guests are just not going to get engaged with it. Do you care? I would.
Yeah.
Well, my staff's happy with that one. Great. So you spent a little less or maybe the same, and you made your staff happy, but all of a sudden your guests aren't generating any more revenue for you.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's my opinion. I don't think all software is made the same. I don't think it generates the same set of results.
So
Yeah.
stop assuming.
So stop
Yeah.
assuming it does when
Yeah.
you're looking at just price as the only difference between them all.
Yeah.
Because if it was, I'd go with the cheaper one too.
Yeah.
That's true.
That is
Very
true.
good point.
Yeah. What's your keep?
All right, keep. I'm going to say that you need to keep networking and building your relationships. It's really a central component of building a high net worth network, is getting out there and meeting people and sharing, your cause and your mission.
Yeah.
And so I would say, keep doing that, and then think about how you can kind of level that up this next year, and how many touches can you have?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. No, that's a great keep. I think that's wonderful. Yeah, I did keep learning and adapting, because I think it's just so important. Like that's kind of a personal one for myself as well. I think the more you're going to learn, the more successful you're going to become. And that's not just in your personal life, but in your organization and everything that's entrusted to you. And learn what's working. For example, if the catering's not working, adapt, find a new
You'll
vendor.
know right away if the catering's not working.
Exactly. Or like if your check-in lines are super long, adapt, figure it out, learn how you can do better on that. I just think that's super important. And yeah.
Yes, and look, adapting is the kind of the critical part there. I mean, obviously learning too, but this is an industry that traditionally has not liked change, and change has always been forced on it. And different types of technology disruptions or other types of I would say disruptions in society like COVID
totally
pushed particular nonprofits to make changes.
Right.
And but I think it's also gotten a lot of our clients accustomed to that now.
Totally.
Where they're more willing, okay, like I bit the bullet, I dove off the deep end, I started using technology in 2020 because I had to, but now I'm comfortable with it, right? So now I can start making those minor tweaks again. But,
Right.
So I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a hand-bid value, adapt or die.
Adapt or die.
Right?
Yep, that's kind of what inspired this one a little bit. Just, I think I've been thinking a lot more about adaptability due to that hand-bid value. So
Exactly. All right, wrap it up. My keep is keep investing in technology and innovation, or partner with those that do.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, because I get it. Like, I mean, you kind of, some people kind of like to do things in like these, kind of disproportionate steps. It's like, okay, I'm going to make a big leap here and I'm going to stop and I'm going to wait. Right, kind of like a step function. So I made the big leap to mobile bidding, and now I got to stick with this for 5 years before I make another change. The world is not like that anymore. Yeah. It's changing too fast. And so, and your guests are changing too fast, and the generations are changing too fast. And so when you look at the differences in, I mean, just even in lingo, I mean, trying to communicate with my kids, like the Gen Zers.
Yeah, it's like, bussin'
fire
this
and
like
bussin'
riz
and,
that,
yes.
and
no cap
Riz
and
that.
lit, and, right? Like these are your donors
So
of the
bad.
future, right? And so it's like, and these people grew up on iPhones, and so and the next generation is going to grow up on AI, right? And there will be a generation, they were just talking about on the news, that will never learn to type.
that's crazy.
because they'll just talk.
They'll just talk.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I've never even thought
Conversationally.
about that.
Yeah.
I mean, it is going to be quite different. And so you got to think about these things as you're like, how do I engage and connect with this audience? And you can hang on to the ones that are mostly attending your events. There's no problem with that. But, in the future, you may not even have many physical events.
Yeah.
It may be more virtual stuff. You just don't know. I mean, you've got to be able to continue to try these things out and invest in them. They weren't like, some people call it like the temporary tornado or storm. Oh, COVID was one of those things we just had to get through. Now we're back to what we were doing before.
Right.
Well, that's not a good idea.
Yeah. Exactly. Things have
Right.
changed.
It's changed,
Yeah.
right? It's like the global flood, right?
Yeah.
Before the flood and after the flood, the world was different,
Yeah.
right? And so after this pandemic, the world is different.
Yep.
And the generations that have been forced to change are all different. And so you've got to keep investing in the technology and the innovation to keep, it's not even to stay ahead, it's to keep up.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's my keep.
Love
Keep up.
it. Keep up. All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. I think we got some entertaining things in there and some.
Let's quickly summarize them. Go through
beneficial.
your quick three, and let's just quickly just go down them, just so everybody remembers.
All right. Okay. So we're going to start embracing technology for engagement. We want to engage the people at our events. We want to stop overwhelming people with too much content, too many board members coming up to speak, and too many, stuff that nobody cares about. And then we want to keep networking and building relationships to further grow our mission and organization.
Love it.
Great. Mine was start utilizing your mobile bidding software to its full potential, including if you have coaching, such as hand bid offers. Make sure you're using your coaching so you can make the most out of it. Stop only connecting with your donors just at your fundraising event. So stop waiting to connect until the next event. And then keep learning and adapting.
That's fire. I just love it. Okay. So mine are: start listening to your mobile bidding company when they give you what they consider to be critical advice. Stop thinking that all auction software will produce the same results. And keep investing in technology and innovation. Keep up.
Keep up. That's bussin'.
All right.
Listen, fire.
Love it. All right.
All right. Happy New Year, everybody.
Yeah, this has been an amazing podcast. No cap. Okay, you guys have an amazing holiday, and Happy New Year to all of our listeners. And until next time, happy fundraising.
Happy fundraising.
If you enjoyed our show, please take a moment to leave us a review. You can find us on Apple, Google, and Spotify. Don't forget to subscribe for more great content. And if you're a fan of video, check us out on YouTube. Until next time, happy fundraising.